What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric now with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Tehran has canceled nuclear talks with the U.S. as Israel and Iran launched more airstrikes at each other over the weekend. Military targets and infrastructure have been hit in Iran, while several parts of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv have been damaged. Iran says dozens of people have been killed in the country, with Israel reporting several casualties. Israel first launched strikes on Iran on Friday after a UN report found that Tehran was not meeting its nuclear non-proliferation obligations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says strikes will escalate in the coming days. Thousands of protests opposing the Trump administration have been held across the U.S. and the world, organized to fall on the same day as a military parade in Washington, D.C. And it comes amid ongoing tensions over workplace immigration raids. Cadence Carranto reports.
No kings! No kings! No kings!
No kings is what people across the U.S. were chanting on Saturday at thousands of protests organized in all 50 states to stand against U.S. President Donald Trump. Protesters argue Trump considers himself above the rule of law and say they're out on the streets to protect democratic values.
Well, I mean, America's about democracy. What we're seeing right now is not democracy. It's about one person, their ego, their agenda. It's just not really about, the land of the free, home of the brave. It's about one person trying to be a king.
I believe that Donald Trump is destroying our country. He has sold out democracy to the highest bidder. He is really only in this for himself.
I'm here to demonstrate my right to protest against a regime that is taking away people's rights.
Most protests were peaceful, filling streets and plazas, congregating outside state capitals and city halls.
Down with deportation! Down with deportation! All true.
But in several cities, there were clashes with police. In Los Angeles, police fired tear gas and rubber bullets as they attempted to clear out protesters. The nationwide protests come as anger has deepened over federal workplace immigration raids, culminating in days of unrest in Los Angeles. The protests were also organized to coincide with a military parade in Washington, D.C., celebrating the Army's 250th anniversary, which has faced criticism by some who say the Trump administration is politicizing the military and wasting taxpayer dollars. The No Kings protests have also spread across the world, with people in Mexico, Germany, Britain, and Taiwan taking part, in an effort, they say, to stand in solidarity with those in the U.S., making their voices heard against the Trump administration. Devin Tsai and Cadence Carranto for TaiwanPlus.
With protests happening in the U.S. against the administration's immigration policies, we take a look at immigrant issues in the country. In this excerpt from our interview show Zoom In, Zoom Out, reporter Joyce Dunn spoke to then New York State Senator Ewen Chu, recorded before last year's elections.
And what are the main issues or concerns that come up when you're engaging with your constituents?
So my district is majority predominantly immigrant communities. My district is the first AAPI Asian Majority District, a senatorial district. But when you talk about AAPI, it's not just East Asian. I have East Asian, South Asian, Central Asian. I have Uzbekistan, I have Bangladesh. I have all different diverse Asian. So they come with the different issues in that angle as well. So for me to serve, to address their issues, and also that's 50%. I have another 20% of Latino families. I represent the largest Muslim communities. I also have like Jewish, Italian, Russian. I have all those immigrant community. Basically, we're talking about the same thing. They want safety. How do they feel safe on the street? How do they feel safe in their school? How do they feel safe when they practice their religions? They need to feel safe when they're going to grocery and shopping. They need to feel safe when they're going to the park to just take a walk with their friends. That's why my legislation priorities going towards safety, public safety, not just about police presence. They need to feel safe when they're taking subways going to work. They need to feel safe when they send their kids going to school. I introduced a package of e-bike safety bills. So our seniors need to feel safe when they're walking on the sidewalk. When we see those e-bike scooters, they're riding on the sidewalk, it's against law. We need some enforcement. And there's way too many cases in my district. The battery, they're under-regulated. So they are those cheap kind, the faulty kind, the recycled kind, they're exploding everywhere throughout the New York City, especially in my district. So I have those legislation and the governor already signed into law. It's a law now.
And as a leader in a predominantly immigrant community, what do you make of the discourse around immigration now in the U.S.?
So it's very simple. We're here, we're in the U.S., we're Americans. If there's a fundamental value over here, we're here for democracy, we're here for freedom, we're here for human rights. No matter what kind of background you are, no matter what kind of immigration policy, that's a federal when we talk about border issues. However, when people are in here locally, they are my constituents. It is my mission to make sure they are protected, treated fairly, equally. There's no discrimination. And how I can prioritize government resource and legislation to protect the diversity of New York City. That is something I can put my hands down and make sure that we can implement those.
It's been a fiercely debated topic this election cycle. What do you make of the rhetoric around this issue?
It's not as hard when we talk about it's New York City. That's the whole diversity this city is about, the beauty of this city. But there's a lot of misinformation, especially on social media. That's something we need to overcome. We need to regulate those. And also when we talk about not just like social media, there's a different opponents of issues. So media has the social responsibility. How we can be a gatekeeper to make sure our audience, our constituents, they receive the accurate facts. And that's something we need to, do a lot of education, do a lot of great groundwork to make sure our constituents, when they're going through those information on social media, they have the right judgment, be able to evaluate and pick the value they truly believe instead of being manipulated by the false information.
What do you hope the future of U.S. politics looks like?
Well, the future politics or the future society gonna look like it's up to the people. This is people's country. So people has grown up grassroots, they are empowered by voting to pick the right leader, to pick the voice that represent them in different tiers, different level of government. People make the choice. People have the power to make the decision. That's why as long as we can provide the accurate information based on fact, people make their own choice. And that's the future and that's the hope. And how do we engage our next generation? That's another thing. Because when we talk about futures, in 10, 15 years, it's gonna be a new flock of new leaders. They will lead our society, they will lead our countries. And they need to be ready. Like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was able to serve on the staffer for the state government, assembly member. I learned so much from that position. I was ready because of that opportunity. And we need to, as a leader over here, especially I'm the first Asian woman senator. I'm the only woman senator, Asian woman senators in the whole state, 248 years now. It is my mission to make sure our next generation, they have the opportunity, they have the platform, they have the training, be able to be ready for when the opportunity is there, when we need a new leaders, they need to be ready. And this is my job to cultivate them, to train them, to educate them, to provide the platform for them.
That was then New York State Senator Ewan Chu. To get the full conversation, head to the TaiwanPlus website and search for Zoom In, Zoom Out. Over 800,000 migrant workers now keep Taiwan running as the country's population ages and shrinks. A new program has changed the rules about how long they can stay, aiming to plug a growing gap in the labor force. John Van Trieste has this story.
Anna from Indonesia has been caring for Taiwan's elderly and disabled for over a decade. Until recently, migrant workers like her could only stay in Taiwan for 12 to 14 years total, meaning she'd have to leave for good before too much longer. But thanks to a rule change that took effect in 2022, migrant workers with at least 6 years' experience can apply to stay on, with a guaranteed higher wage. She's excited to have been approved in January.
我不想回家了，为什么？因为在台湾是很好赚钱呐，然后我那个老板什么都对我们是很好的。
She is lucky because her employer wanted her to stay too. He's gone through multiple caregivers but found a good match in Anna.
也是要想尽办法能够按照他讲的那个条件下去做，薪资还是要照样提高，休假什么还是要照样的。
Behind this story is a sharp demographic decline that's left Taiwan running out of options to fill crucial roles. This is the year Taiwan's projected to become a super-aged society, with a fifth of the population in the 65 or older group.
那但是比较重点还是希望说这些资深、已经技术成熟的移工可以留下来。那因为现在在国内对于中阶的这个人才，其实也是蛮缺乏的。
Migrant labor has helped plug this gap. As of the end of April, there were more than 833,000 migrant workers in Taiwan, the majority from Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines. They do a range of jobs, from factory work to in-home care. The program aims to make Taiwan more attractive to these workers by offering a longer career, rather than just a decade or so to make as much money as possible. But even some who welcome the idea are uneasy. Those who are allowed to stay are owed higher pay, and making up the difference could prove tough for the many low-income people employing caregivers. They agree conditions should be better, but who's going to foot the bill?
我们现在是诱因不够，所以人才来的越来越少。那当然，开放久用的话，会是一个好的会是增加诱因。长久来看的话，还是要提高怎么讲？要劳动条件要好一点。
The Labor Ministry is providing some help. It will hand out monthly subsidies worth around $100 to employers for the first 3 years. It's also going to waive a monthly fee employers normally have to pay to ensure migrant workers' employment stability, making it less expensive to retain experienced workers. Faced with the reality of a quickly aging population, the hope is that experienced migrant workers who've come to know Taiwan will keep their skills here. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Last month was the second hottest May on record, according to the Copernicus Climate Change Service. Temperatures around the world last month were 1.4 degrees Celsius above the estimated pre-industrial 1815 to 1900 level, which is used as a baseline for measuring climate change. Data also showed that northwestern Europe had an exceptionally dry spring, with many countries there now facing drought conditions. Taiwan exported 6 times as much rice to Japan in the first half of 2025 as it did last year, according to government figures. Exports are expected to top 10,000 metric tons this year. It comes as Japan announces plans to release 200,000 more tons of rice from its emergency stockpile amid a historic shortage. That's being driven by panic buying, a poor harvest, and distribution delays. Prices have doubled since last year, making rice a key issue ahead of elections this summer. Since March, Japan's government has already released 600,000 tons of rice from its 900,000-ton reserve. Taiwan society is aging more rapidly, with births hitting a record low in May, further shrinking the country's population of around 23 million people. Fewer than 9,000 babies were born in May, while over 10,000 deaths were recorded that month. It marks Taiwan's 17th consecutive month of population decline, according to the Interior Ministry. While the marriage rate has rebounded slightly, it's uncertain if that will translate to more births down the road. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of the LGBTQ+ Pride Parade in Rome. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.